So one thing I want to ask you, because I don't know whether I have this story right or not, is I thought that you told me when Pearl Harbor was attacked, that you were out in the cattle lot on your farm where you grew up, and you were on a fence. Do you remember telling me that's when you heard that Pearl Harbor was bombed?
Probably.
You remember that? Do you think I have that right?
I don't know.
I don't know either. I thought I remember you telling me one time that when Pearl Harbor was attacked, you were out in your cattle lot and you were on a fence, and your dad came out and said something to you. But I didn't know if I made that up or if that was true.
I don't know.
Okay, well, if it comes back to you, let me know, because that's the story I'm sticking with. I don't know whether it's true or not. So, okay, ready? Either one of you can answer this one. It's better if both of you do. What is one piece of advice you received from your parents or grandparents that you have always remembered? A piece of advice from your parents or grandparents that you always remembered.
We've remembered a lot, haven't we? We can't even think of what we remembered. Well, I remember my dad telling me, and also a school teacher that we had, telling me there was a difference between wants and needs. Mm-hmm. And she was a math teacher, and both of them had the same philosophy. Your wants, spend your money on your needs, and then your wants, if you have any money left over enough to buy that want, you can buy it. If you don't save your money until you have enough to buy what you want, instead of putting it on a credit card, which they didn't have back then, or going to the bank and borrowing and paying interest.
So that first time you had to borrow money,
we borrowed money right after we were married. We borrowed money to start farming, which was a need. But then we wanted a deep freeze. And we went and bought that on time, and about the second payment came, and I looked at that, and I'm looking at how much interest we're having to pay, and I said, we gotta get this paid off, I can't do this. And that's been my philosophy all through my life.
wants versus needs.
Wants versus needs, right.
Dad, when you think about all the skills that your dad taught you, the carpentry skills, you talked about how your dad taught you a lot of things about how to build things. When you went to Colorado, did your dad go with you to Colorado to build houses?
No, we went to Oregon.
Oh. And why did you go to Oregon?
That's where Dad wanted to build a house.
Grandpa wanted to move you guys to Oregon?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that.
He didn't.
What?
He didn't want to move you to Oregon. You had relatives out in Oregon.
Yeah.
You had relatives and he wanted to build a house for them?
No, he just
No,
wanted,
he
they
built
said
a-
there was a need for housing
Oh.
out in Oregon. And so he,
Wasn't a very big town.
But how many houses did you build?
I don't know.
So when you went out there, how old were you?
Sophomore, I think.
Like in the summer or did you actually go out during the school year?
I don't know how.
he went out during the school year.
So you didn't have to go to school. Your school was building houses with your dad. He took you out of school to do that.
He was building a barn when I came back from California, or from Colorado.
When you ran away?
Yeah.
So tell us about running away. What did you do? Why did you run away?
I went with Ron.
You went with Ronnie Lewis, your friend.
Yeah.
Why did you go?
I don't really know.
Ronnie wanted to go, and you said, okay, let's go?
I guess.
I had a friend, a guy that had graduated a year or two before them that worked on a ranch out there. And they just decided they'd go see what it was like, and maybe they'd get a job.
So you were a junior in high school then, right?
I think so.
So was there a connection to basketball? Did you get mad at the coach? Is that why you went? Or am I messing that up in my mind? No?
Not me, no.
So was it in the summertime that you went out to Colorado, or you left school again and went out during the school year?
During the school.
I don't know.
You went during the school year, Mom thinks?
Yeah,
You went
you
during
went
the...
out during the school
So
year.
that means that during your sophomore year, you didn't go to school all year long. During your junior year, you didn't go to school all year long because you went to Colorado. What'd you do your senior year? Did you stay in school all your senior year?
Yeah,
Yeah? Is that when you blew up the toilet?
yeah.
So tell us about blowing up the toilet. What'd you do there?
Just put a, I just started,
A firecracker?
yeah.
You started a firecracker, and then why did you throw it in the toilet?
We shouldn't have done that, but we did.
Did it...
I was gonna throw it out the door, out the window, but too many people was around there, so I threw it in
in the
the
toilet?
stool.
Thought it'd go out.
Did it really blow up the toilet? I mean, did it really explode the toilet?
Yeah, yeah. There was one sitting right beside, there was two of them there. And he was sitting on that stool.
Oh, there was somebody going to the bathroom
Yeah.
when you did that?
In the next stall,
That
yes.
was,
Oh, were there stalls in the bathroom, or were there just two toilets sitting right next to each other?
there's two stools.
Okay, but was there a wall in between the two stools, like a divider in
Yeah.
between the two? So he didn't know you threw that in there.
No.
So he's sitting on the pot
It
next.
scared him when, that was Irma Tracer. He's dead.
Scared the shit right out of him.
I know.
I didn't realize there was somebody in that bathroom next to you.
There weren't very many in there, no. It was before it was early in the morning.
Before school started?
Yeah,
And did you only have one firecracker, or did you have more than one?
I don't know who had the firecracker, I don't remember that.
But it ended up in your hand, and you were going to throw it out the window, but instead you threw it in the toilet.
Well, that's what I told the superintendent, yeah.
What'd the superintendent say to you?
Well, he didn't believe me. I don't know,
Did he kick you out of school?
no.
You didn't get kicked
We
out
had
of
to go down to Hopkins and buy a new, we just bought a used stool and put it in there. And it's taller than the other side
Had
is
to
shorter.
replace the stool.
So you just had to replace the toilet. Was that Ronnie Lewis who did that with you too?
No, I think that was Buddy Kaiser, I think. I
And,
don't remember.
and who's Buddy Kaiser?
Huh?
Tell me about Buddy Kaiser.
He was a lieutenant
In what?
in the Army,
But he was your classmate? Was he the same age as you are?
yeah. His wife called her, talked to Mary.
Not too long ago?
No, she was just,
But he said the superintendent and the school board were all standing in the boys' restroom, and they called these, of course they knew who did it, because there was a teacher that was in the school, and she came running out, "What was the noise? What was the noise?" And they said, "What noise?" These two boys walked, "What noise?" And of course it was echoing all over the whole school, you know, and so she knew who did it, and they knew who did it, so they called these two boys in to the restroom and standing there looking at the stool that was all blown apart.
Was water flowing everywhere?
I imagine they'd
I
shut it
imagine
off by
so,
then.
for a little bit.
And all they had to do was replace the stool, so they bought a used one.
Yep,
You and Buddy Kaiser? Do you remember how much that cost you?
I don't remember.
Don't remember that?
I think that was Ronnie Lewis because, that did that with you.
Maybe it was.
It was because you said the superintendent came out, he was the basketball coach too, the superintendent was.
Oh,
The superintendent came out and wanted him to come back to school because he was a good basketball player. He wanted him back on the team. So he came out and he went back to school, and Ronnie, the superintendent, didn't go and talk to Ronnie's folks or to Ronnie because he didn't play basketball.
So the superintendent came out to your house? You weren't gonna go back to school?
no, he was building a barn then.
No, you're getting it mixed up. That was when you went to Colorado.
Yeah,
Yeah, but the superintendent came out to your house to get you to go back to school, didn't he?
After you blew up the toilet?
yeah.
So that was when you were a senior. So you didn't want to finish school, but the superintendent talked you into it.
Well,
I guess
yeah.
so.
Are you glad you finished?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. That's funny. Okay. Do you have any advice that your parents gave you? Mom said the wants and needs. Do you have any advice from your parents?
Not for me.
Not for you. What are some of your favorite traditions? We talked about it. I think that one tradition that I remember when we would go down to see your mom and dad was her fried chicken and homemade noodles. Was having that.
Yeah.
And her big 16-ounce bottles of Pepsi. Do you remember how she would always have those?
That was your dad that had those.
Grandpa had
Grandpa
those?
always bought the big bottles of Pepsi and Mountain Dew or whatever when he knew the grandkids were coming.
I don't know that he had Mountain Dew. I just remember the big 16-ounce bottles of Pepsi
He always said,
in the basement that we would like be really excited about. What do you remember about going back to your parents' house?
You have to ask her. I don't know.
What's a family tradition, Mom?
what's the family traditions? Well, our holidays, we have always gotten together. Families for generations, we've always gotten together. We also now have the tradition of the celebrating our 80th birthdays. I thought that was kind of a unique way to do things because I remember one of the kids asking Dad when he turned 80, do you want to have a open house? Oh, no. Well, do you want all us kids to go out and eat? No. Well, what do you want? Oh, nothing. I said, I know what I want. I want to have a work day and get all these jobs that we can't do anymore done. So we had a work day. And so then when I turned 80, we had another work day and got all these jobs done.
We need to do that about every year on your birthdays.
It could be, we could probably keep you busy, but we don't want to chase you off, so we better do it too often maybe.
I don't think you're going to chase us off. Dad,
And we also have the tradition of family fun, which a lot of families probably don't have, where we all like to get together and go someplace. And that started when we went to Missouri one year at Thanksgiving time, and we were celebrating Thanksgiving and Christmas and an uncle's 90th birthday and
which uncle?
Galen's.
I don't remember that part of it.
Yeah, and
Okay.
so there were several of them were married and had kids, and so Saturday night, why the kids and their spouses wanted to know if I would babysit while they went to church. Well, of course I would do that if you're going to church. So our kids went to church, but they forgot to come back right away. I don't know, they got sidetracked somewhere along the way, and that was the first FF in 1986 maybe?
It was 87 because
87.
Todd and I had just gotten engaged,
Okay.
and then we got married in 88, so it was
Okay,
87.
so it's 87. Okay. So that was the first FF without us, but they've been fun since then, and I guess that one was probably fun too without us.
That was fun.
And then we have the Outlaw Club also.
Oh, that's right, the Outlaws.
Yes, so after the kids started getting married, why, some of the spouses decided it was a little hard to live with Bridgewaters, and they needed they needed to get a group together so that they could have, I don't know, some help with.
It was a support group, wasn't it?
Yeah, a support group, yes, to learn how to manipulate so that they could get their way, but get ahead of these people that have the Bridgewater blood, and they need moral support too, so they'd get together, and that's been a fun tradition. And now we've got second generation of them, of the Outlaw Club, and we're very exclusive because you, in order to be a member, you have to marry someone with Bridgewater blood in their veins, but you can have no Bridgewater blood in your veins. So we are an exclusive club.
You are an exclusive club.
Yes.
We were just laughing about the Outlaws because Chase and Abby were at our house on Tuesday night, and Chase was complaining about Abby and about how she always likes to touch him at night, and he just wants her to stay away from him. And I said, "Oh, Chase, she's got Bridgewater blood in her."
And she does then. She certainly does. We have to get Chase and tell him how to cope.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Okay, here's a question. Who has been the kindest to you in your life?
the kindest to me. Oh, I've had an awful lot of people be kind to me. My mother-in-law was very kind.
In what ways?
Oh, I always said if I could be half as good of a mother-in-law as she was, that would be just great.
What'd she do that made her a good mother-in-law?
Just everything. You never heard her say a bad word about anybody. And just always wanting to help you. And just, you know.
Do you remember that about your mom, Dad? That she was a kind woman?
Oh, she was.
She was? Was she a lot nicer than your dad was?
I suppose so.
They were, did they?
Very different.
They parented very different? Your dad was different than your mom?
I don't know.
Do you think you're different than Mom, or do you think you two are more alike than your parents were?
I don't know.
We're more alike than his were. His dad was pretty, and his mother would have talked and gotten her point across talking, I think.
Do you remember anybody being very kind to you in your life? Nice to you? Like a teacher or a family neighbor or anybody that was kind to you?
I don't know.
Well, Ralph and Macy were kind to you. They let you live with them.
Yeah, I guess so.
Why did they let you live with them?
Because they wanted to, I guess.
Was that after you came back from the military or before?
Before.
Before? You lived with them before? Did you enlist or did you get drafted into
I
the
get
military?
drafted.
You got drafted? So did you get to choose which branch you were drafted into, or did you just have to go?
Army.
I know, but when you got drafted, could you say, I don't want Army, I'd rather do Marines, or I'd rather do Air Force? You had to do Army?
Yeah.
You had to do Army. And how old were you when you got drafted?
22.
22.
No, you were about
19.
19.
19? Where did you go first?
Out in,
Was it California?
yeah,
That's where your
right close to the coast.
That's where your basic training was?
Yeah.
And then after you got done with basic training, where did you go?
Germany.
So you went right from basic training, did you get on a ship?
Well, I had to go back home stay for a while. But the people I don't
The
know.
guys that you went to basic training with
Yeah,
got back, they all went home, and his airplane, something happened to
Something,
it
yeah.
to get back.
I had to go back home for a few days.
Because your
Something happened
plane,
to the plane, and so he had to go back home, and then by the time he got back to California, why, the guys he had taken basic with were already all
They're
on the
already
ship
gone.
gone. So he got with a whole new bunch that he
Yep.
didn't know at all.
you didn't know anybody that you went to Germany with?
No, not after that.
Oh, so those people that you did basic training with, do you keep in touch with any of those anymore? Do you know where any of those are?
No, I know the
The ones
gal
that he
that
was
came,
with over in Germany, he
a
does.
lot of them are dead, but
Yeah, yeah. So did you fly to Germany or were you on a
No, I
plane to
went-
Germany? Or
Ship.
ship?
no, I went over to New York to go to Germany.
So you took a plane from California to New York and then you got on a
No,
ship?
I got off at Kansas City.
Oh,
And was
because
home for
you were
3
home,
days.
you went to Kansas City and then to New York and then you got on a ship.
Yeah.
And when you were on that ship, is that when the Korean War?
Yeah, I was on the ocean when they quit shooting people. So
So you never saw active duty?
no,
But then, I didn't know this about you. You were in Germany for how long?
I don't know, I think it's about 18 months.
And, okay, so this is a story Macy told me, and you've told me this. How did you make money when you were in the military? What did you do to make money?
Well, they paid by the month.
Right, but then if you didn't have enough money, what did you do?
I sent it home.
You sent it home, but then you needed money back and you didn't get money back from your mom and dad. So how did you make money? What did you buy? You told me that you bought
Oh, I bought 'em some clocks.
when you were over there.
I
Your
still
watch.
got my watch.
Are you wearing it today?
No, not today.
Your watch that you bought in Germany, it was a, what do you call it,
Bulba.
Bulba? But tell me about ironing. About ironing.
Yeah, I had an iron.
Yeah. What'd you do with that iron?
I don't know.
Would you charge people to use
Yeah,
it?
I guess so.
Macy told me, she wrote that you would
Yeah.
charge people. Did you and one of your buddies buy it together?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then you charged other people to use it, and
Yeah.
that's how you made some money too?
I guess.
Do you remember what you charged people to use it?
No, I don't remember.
When you were in the hospital one time, you were talking to a nurse that had been in Germany about places that you went when you were in Germany, to the concentration camps. Do you remember going and seeing those?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that had to be hard.
Yeah, I went a couple times to those.
What was your favorite thing in Germany?
I don't know. They're narrow.
The streets
Yeah.
are very narrow. Where did you live? On base over there? So then you came back to the States, and then you didn't move back to the farm, you moved in with Ralph and Macy.
No.
No? You moved to the farm first?
I went to Oklahoma for a while. Then I came back to here after that.
Oklahoma, is that where you were with Ralph and Macy?
No.
No.
geez.
He went back to a contractor he had worked
Yeah.
with before he went to service, stringing lines again. And then he came home for Earl's wedding, and they were looking for a guy up here in Blairstown to put in new lines for the telephone company. And that was a funny story too, because he, before he went to service, he was stringing lines, and a guy from Blairstown and his wife had a
Ralph
retirement.
Birch.
They had sold their farm, and they were going south with their travel trailer, just going through the country, and they'd stop for a week, maybe someplace, and find a job and work a little bit, and then they'd move on. Well, they happened to stop where he was working with this telephone contractor guy. And they worked for about a week together. And then when 2 years later, that guy from Blairstown was on the telephone board up here, and he said they were looking for somebody to build new lines. And he said, well, I remember working with a kid that was pretty good with line building back a couple years ago. Let me see, his name was Bridgewater, and his folks lived at Hopkins, Missouri. I'll see if I can get a hold of them. Well, they got a hold of his mother, and she said, well, he's coming home this weekend for his brother's wedding. And so I'll have him call you. So he did. And they came up to look the place over and hired out for a job.
That's pretty amazing.
That's pretty amazing.
Did you miss your brother's wedding though?
No, I went to
He was at Earl's.
Earl's wedding.
Okay, so was it Ralph's wedding that you missed?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, I didn't go to that one.
What were you doing that you didn't go to your brother's wedding?
I don't
Oh,
know.
you do too. Oh. What were you doing?
Playing pool.
See, you have more memories, you just don't want to tell us some of them.
No.
So you were playing pool while your brother was getting married. Were you playing for money?
No,
You were just playing.
just playing.
Who were you playing with?
I don't know.
Was this in Hopkins or where did they get married?
Yeah.
In Hopkins. So you missed the wedding because you were playing pool.
I guess.
And see, I'm saying, what were your parents doing that they let you play pool instead of going to the wedding?
You weren't his best man.
No.
You were Earl's best man though. Were you Earl's best
yes.
man?
Yeah, I guess so.
And Earl got married in Des Moines or where did he
He
get?
got married in Maryville.
Where's Ann from?
She's close to Maryville.
Graham,
Oh, I had forgotten that she was from down there.
they met in college.
They met at Maryville?
Yeah.
Okay, at college.
But see, Ralph and Macy were married in the minister's house. It was just family. If he didn't want to come, why, I guess they didn't care. Macy says she didn't care. She had Ralph, that's all she
You
cared.
were in high school at that time though, weren't you? Yeah, you would have been in high school. Yeah, because Ralph was how many years older than you?
5 years old.
Yeah, so you still would have been in high school or younger, yeah.
Yeah.
Because they got married, Macy's a year younger than Ralph? She's Earl's age.
Yeah.
Okay. I was playing pool. Andrew, I don't think that when your sister gets married, you should do that.
No, I'm in the wedding. That's probably not going to work. But Macy was telling me yesterday about when you were down in Missouri and doing lines and how one of them was hot and you about got fried. Mm-hmm. You were up on one and he came running out saying, "No, that's hot."
Do you remember that? That you almost got hurt? You almost got electrocuted? You do remember that?
Yeah.
Macy was telling me about how you guys lived in an old, like a feed store or something? And all you had was a curtain between?
That was Ronnie. He was there for a while.
Ronnie Lewis was there with you?
Yeah.
And Ralph and Macy and Ronnie Lewis.
Yeah.
Yes, there were just some old
Curtains.
curtains or something between their bedroom
And that's when you and Ralph bought a car together.
Yep. I had her 32 Ford. I sold that and I bought her a new 51 Chevy convertible.
Ooh,
I
was it
heard-
convertible?
Macy told me you got a lot of attention in that convertible.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
color was it?
It was white.
With
All
a white
with
top?
red inside.
Was it new when you bought it?
Yeah.
How much? Do you remember how much it cost?
No, I don't remember that. But,
So did you have your motorcycle at that time?
yeah.
You had your motorcycle.
No, I had it. No, yeah, I had it before.
You had the motorcycle before you bought the car.
Yeah.
So when did you get the 55?
After I got out of the Army.
Well, that convertible, did you buy that before you were in the Army or after?
Yeah, before.
And then when you got out of the Army is when you bought the 55.
Well, he had a, what did you
Had
have,
a
a Nash? or-
Hudson.
Yeah, a Hudson, yeah.
Is that
When
what
he
you,
first came to Blairstown, he had
That's
a
what you
Hudson
drove
and
up
a
here?
motorcycle.
how'd you get them both up here? How'd you get the motorcycle and the car both up here?
I think,
I don't know, maybe you didn't have the motorcycle up here. You took Jim Dorsman down to bring it up that time,
yeah,
and then you traded the car
Traded
and
it
the
off while we were
motorcycle
down
off
there.
for the 55, so.
Do you still have in your wallet that picture of your motorcycle?
no, I wish I did, but no,
You did have it in there for a long time.
I think I
I
did.
bet you do someplace.
I wonder if it's still in there and you just don't know it.
No, it's not in.
It's not in there? Okay. What is one of your earliest memories?
The earliest memory I have was the day I went to kindergarten, and we got out at noon, and when we came home, there were a bunch of farmers there that helped Dad harvest, and so there were several of them around there, and I came in and they said, "Oh, how was your first day of school?" Okay, well, what's your teacher's name? Miss Catalog. And her name was Miss Kellogg. And I remember them all laughing at me for calling her Miss Catalog. So that's my earliest
Memory?
memory that I can.
Do you have something you remember about when you were little, Dad? Do you have a memory you remember from being little?
No.
Tell me about riding Margaret's bike.
I took the stuff off the
Fenders off.
fenders off because it was muddy going to Hopkins.
And you rode Margaret's bike? How many miles was it into town?
6 miles.
And you were riding with Ronnie Lewis? How far away did he live from you? How far away did he live from you when you grew up? How close a neighbor was
He
he?
lived pretty close to Hopkins. He lived right on the edge.
Of Hopkins? So you were riding in to see him?
Yeah,
So is that how your picture got in the paper?
we were,
Well,
they said,
the 102 River was flooding
Yeah.
at the time, and the whole town of Hopkins was flooded. And his mother said, "Yes, you can ride in to see Ronnie, but stay away from the flooded water." Okay, and then he took Margaret's bike and took the fenders off, and away he went. And so the next day, when he got home, she said, "Well, you weren't close to the water." "No." And the next day, the picture came out in the St. Joe paper of these two boys on their bicycles in the water.
You were busted.
I guess.
You did you get caught a lot doing things you weren't supposed to do?
No,
You were kind of ornery though, weren't you?
I suppose.
So Ralph told me one time that you guys used to race backwards down the highway.
I don't remember that.
You don't remember that. Do you
No.
think he did that?
No.
You don't think he did that?
No.
You don't want to tell us, do you? He told us too that they would put grass and gravel in the back of a tailpipe and then stomp on it and it would spray the
Blow it
car.
out.
That was not
It
nice.
wasn't nice. No.
Did you do that too? Maybe
I
a
don't
few
remember
times?
doing that, but maybe he did.
He said he did that. They would just romp on it and then it would spray the vehicle behind them. Oh, how did you two meet?
That's how we met, was when he came up to Blairstown, and he had that, what kind of car did you say you had? A Hudson?
Yeah?
Well, I didn't pay any attention to an old Hudson, but I was sitting on my folks' front porch, and this 55 Crown Victoria went through, and it was a flashy car. And in Blairstown, you knew everybody, and you knew all their cars. Wow, who's got that car? That's pretty flashy. But I ended up having to help pay for it.
She did.
How long did you keep that car after you got married?
62.
Yeah.
Bought a new 62. So, 5 years.
So your flashy car
Seven
stole her
years.
heart, right?
7 years.
You were engaged to somebody else, though, when you met her, and she was engaged to somebody else. How'd you break off your engagements to the other people? Had you given her a ring, that other woman a ring?
Yeah.
Did you get that ring back, or did she keep it?
I don't know.
I did. He got it back because he was going to give it to me, and I said, no, no, I don't think so. Trade that thing in.
You were gonna give her your old fiance's ring.
I thought he had it back, so he might as well see if somebody else wanted it, I guess.
So
And
Andrew,
they bought it from Bell's.
right, I don't know if
Yeah.
you knew this. Where did you buy Mom's wedding ring?
Down in Maryville.
And who was the owner of that store?
Bell.
I thought it was Bell's
Bell.
dad.
So
But I
Mr.
thought
Bell,
Macy said
Our
that
English
wasn't
teacher?
right, so I don't know.
his father. You don't think that's right, or you do think
Macy said it was the other store down there.
Mm.
So I don't know for
I
sure.
don't know.
You don't know. But somehow there was a connection. Mr. Bell's parents were from Maryville, and they owned a jewelry store. Okay. How did you know she was the one and not the other one?
I don't know. I don't remember that.
You don't remember what?
No.
How did you know that he was the one and not the other one?
Oh, I could tell. There wasn't any doubt in my mind.
You think it was you or your flashy car, Dad?
It was just as flashy as the car was. Okay?
He probably was. Do you have any favorite stories from your marriage or about your husband?
Well, before we were married, of course, he was from 250 miles away and just came into town. And my parents, back in those days, parents were pretty protective of their children, especially their daughters, you know. And so, even though my mother was a telephone operator and he was the telephone serviceman and they worked together all the time, she still didn't quite know whether that was a good thing because he was been in service and back out of service and been around the world a bit more than her dear little daughter had been. And so they weren't real sure about me going with him. So he said, well, why don't you just go down to Missouri with us this weekend and meet my folks then? So she did.
She did.
And once she got down there and met his lovely family, everything was just fine.
Do you think your parents were nervous about meeting her mom?
Do what?
Do you think your parents were nervous about her mom coming down?
No.
No.
I don't think so. But I think it would have taken a lot of nerve on my mother's part, to get in the car and go down there with us.
Why do you think that?
I just can't imagine myself doing that. I don't know.
Had to check it out.
But it eased her mind, and it all worked out just fine. It was a good thing she did.
Do you think she did that because your dad was pushing for that, or she had those concerns? Because your dad, I
Both.
think, he
Both.
was very protective of you, wasn't
Yeah, probably, but he didn't know. I don't know. But he wasn't going to go do it.
he? But
But he could have convinced her that would be a good idea. I don't know.
if you were going to give advice to me or my children, or even children that come in our family, what would it be? So what advice do you want to give other members of our family?
I got advice. Words of wisdom
Sure,
for future generations.
sure.
Well, be nice. Like Hannah said when she was a little girl, be nice and share and look for ways to help people that need the help, but don't enable them. In other words, tough love. Does that sound familiar? Tough love. Make good choices and take responsibility for your actions, good or bad. Pick good friends.
Dad, would you say you picked good friends in your life?
She did it, let her do that.
You let her pick your friends?
Yeah,
That's not true. When you think about Ronnie Lewis was your friend for life, Buddy Kaiser has been your friend for life. You picked good friends. They were ornery just like you, blowing up toilets, jumping on trains to ride to Colorado.
No, they didn't jump on a train. They rode the bus out.
Oh, I thought you hopped on a train. You rode the bus out? You bought a ticket and rode the bus out to Colorado?
Well, they started out hitchhiking, but that wasn't gonna
didn't
work.
work.
That didn't work because nobody picked them up, so they finally bought bus tickets. And got out there.
So Ronnie Lewis stayed there, or did you both come back?
Yeah,
You both came back. But when you were seniors in high school and you blew up the toilet, he didn't come back to school. Did he ever finish high school?
nope.
He didn't ever finish.
He might have gotten his GED, I'm not sure.
I don't think so.
I don't know.
Don't know for sure. And was he an electrician? What did he end up being in his life?
Electrician.
He's an electrician.
Very good electrician.
He was pretty good at all of it.
He could figure things out.
Yep.
What did you think you were going to be in your life? Did you ever think you were going to be a farmer? Or did you think you'd always be a linesman?
Lineman, I figured, but I don't know.
Did you like doing the carpentry work?
Oh, yeah.
You could figure lots of things out in your life too. You taught that skill to your kids, how to figure things out.
Yep.
Yeah. How would Ronnie Lewis or Buddy Kaiser describe you? What would they say about you?
I don't know.
You don't want to tell me, or you
No,
really
I don't know.
You don't know what they would say
No,
about you?
How do I know what they would say?
Would they say you were fun,
I suppose.
loyal,
Right?
ornery?
Just like they were.
Your dad was very ornery, though, wasn't he?
Maybe.
Do you think he was ornery, his dad? He had a mean streak in him.
He had a fiery temper. Much more so than really any of his kids do, I think.
Yeah, Macy talks a lot about that.
But yes, he was probably, I don't know whether he was ornery as a younger person or not, I guess. But yes, he liked to tease you kids and stuff, so
Oh yeah, he
yeah.
loved
he
doing
liked
that.
to do that. So,
Was there a teacher or teachers that had particular influence on you?
well, I'm sure Skelton did, the superintendent and he was also the basketball coach. I'm sure he would have had quite an influence on him because he would have never finished school, I don't think, if it hadn't been for basketball.
Do you remember what he said to you when he came out to your house?
I don't remember.
Did your mom and dad care whether you went back to school or not? Neither one of them graduated, right? Did your mom have what, 8th grade graduation? Or did your mom graduate from high school? Do you remember?
She didn't graduate from high school because she was married at 16.
And you couldn't have graduated if you
No,
were
she didn't
married?
graduate.
Do you remember how far your dad went in school?
I don't remember.
It wasn't uncommon for them not to have
No.
graduated.
No, probably 8th grade, I would say, but I don't know.
Your mom and dad, do you think both his mom and dad or not for sure?
Probably both of them.
What-
Neither one of them graduated, I know that.
What about your parents? Did they both graduate?
My dad didn't. He
Didn't.
just went to 8th grade, and then he didn't want to take the test that you had to take to go into high school. See, they went to country schools, and you had to take a test, a county test before you could go to high school. And he didn't want to take that. He was kind of bashful, and I always wanted to know what that test consisted of, and I found one on the computer. I wouldn't have passed it. Now. I mean, it was.
It was
of course,
tough.
It was, yeah, but it was, a lot different than what you would need to know now, but my mom graduated from high school and then went to college for the summer and then taught school for, I don't know, a couple of years at least. All they had to do was just go to a 3-month summer school. She went to Cove
And where did she teach?
in a country school about, I don't know, over by Watkins, I guess.
She lived right across where they used to used to stay.
Well, there was
There was one right there in the
there
corner.
was a school right,
On Breck's
yeah.
property, right across from where Jeff
Yeah.
lives
That
now.
isn't the one she taught at.
Is that, who went to school there? Would Grandpa have gone to school there?
Yes, and Chuck and Sally both went to school there too.
But you didn't go there.
No, it was closed by the time I went to school.
I think I remember that building being there. Would I remember that?
I don't think so. I don't remember it.
You don't remember it?
No, you wouldn't remember the
That was
building
long
being there.
gone.
It was
Might
long
have been.
gone? Maybe I just have seen pictures.
Maybe. But the teachers then stayed with my parents. The teachers in that school, they would stay with my parents. Because they were the closest, unless they came from around pretty close. And
So-
I think Neola Newton maybe taught at that school and she probably stayed at home, but some of them stayed with my folks.
Did you go to country school or did you, where was your country school from your house?
South, about 3/4 of a mile.
Down the road? On the right hand, on the west side of the road, the same side of the road as your farm?
Yeah.
Did Ralph and Macy live there for a while? Or did somebody live in that place that I would have known that?
It was right by
Yeah,
that.
right
That
close.
wasn't the school. Their house wasn't a school at one time, was it?
I really don't
But the
know.
school was right there, I
Okay.
think.
And Ralph and Macy lived down there? I kind of remember that.
Yeah, they had a house down there.
I remember when we would drive to where your mom and dad, where you grew up, that I didn't like going over. There was one bridge. Was it just 2 boards that we had to make sure that we were on?
Just on top.
Yeah.
There goes across there.
And I don't,
But no railings.
no, and I remember as a kid not liking going over that bridge. Scared to go over that bridge. And I'm sure that's because you said, hang on, kids, so we don't fall in, or something like that. Do you think that you would have done that said something like that to us?
Maybe, I don't know.
I remember being scared to go over that bridge every time we went down to Graham and Grandpa's. I didn't like going over that bridge. I think probably because I just thought it was 2 boards, that there were no cross beams underneath it.
No, see, it goes this way and the other way.
So they crossed
Cross.
each other. I don't think I knew that as a kid.
Yeah,
I do remember the colored bridges
yeah.
between Bedford and Hopkins. That's how we knew we were close. The colored bridges. How has being a parent changed you?
I don't know.
Well, I always said raising children was all about educating the parents.
Why do you say that?
Because you get quite an education raising a family. And nobody can tell you, because every kid's different. So, and every family's different and every situation is different, and you learn not to be selfish. Definitely. So,
Did you want as many kids as you ended up having? Did you want as many children as you ended up having?
Oh, should have. Yeah, I think so.
You think you wanted all of us?
Yeah.
Well, I know you have to say that now, but when you started out, did you think you would have that
No.
big of a family? How many do you think you wanted when you started out?
I don't remember that. How much did you want?
oh, I don't remember, seemed like you wanted 3 and I wanted 5, or I don't know, and I said God decided we needed 10, so that's what we had,
That's a lot. That's a lot.
so.
What were some of the best times that you've had in your life?
Oh, it's just been a blast the whole time.
Not true.
Not true? The best times. Well, there have been a lot of good times.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
We have been very blessed.
Do any stick out?
Not particularly, I guess, I don't know.
I remember thinking that when the Farm Progress Show happened up by Van Horn and you bought that building and moved it down here, that we must have been pretty important at that point, that we were building that building. That to me was a turning point. I don't know whether it was or not, but I remember thinking that, wow, we can afford that. Because they were all old buildings. Everything was old on the farm. And then you brought that new building in. Was it cemented right away, the shop?
No, not right away. After they got built.
Then you cemented it.
Yeah.
Did you have heat in it right away?
No.
No?
Well, pretty soon, yeah.
Jeff left because he was going to put a petition in there because it was so big. And he was gonna petition half of it off or something for a shop. And the other half could be machine shed.
Why don't you sit in that chair over there?
And it is so little now that, you know,
That's funny. It's all about your perspective, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Well, I know what Mom will say for this, but I'll have her answer anyway. Can you describe the moment you saw your child for the first time?
my first child for
Yes.
the first time.
Yes. Have you heard this story, Andrew?
I have not.
They brought Jeff in and he was 21 inches long and he weighed 7 pounds something, so he was a skinny, I don't know, and of course the first one, their head is kind of pointed usually, and his ears were kind of out like this, and I looked at him and thinking, oh my goodness, I went through all this for that? Put him back.
And they've shared that with Jeff.
But see, he turned out fine.
He did
So
turn out
it's
fine.
okay.
He did turn
And
out
then
fine.
Ron was born, and Ron was cute as could be because his little head was real, and he had hair, and it was like a flat top, and he was shorter and filled out more, and
Did you go early with Jeff?
no, he was born on the day he was supposed to be.
How about with any of us? Were we about?
Some of you came early, some of you came late. He was the only one born on the day he was supposed to be. You were late.
How late was I? Do you remember?
I think you were supposed to be born, was it like, I thought around Grandma's birthday on the 15th, and you were born on the 25th.
So me coming home late was just, it started from the beginning. Anytime I came home late, I should have just said, well, I've always been late,
I've
Mom.
always been late.
I used to get in trouble for coming home late. Quite often. You remember that?
No.
Good. You can forget that.
Well, in terms of parenting, I'd say you must have done something right because all your kids still live pretty close and they come by all the time. I mean, most, some family units, they rarely see each other, but you think about this Bridgewater family unit, it's pretty tight.
That's true. That's the whole idea behind it all.
Is to keep us close? Physically? Or,
Both. Enjoy being together.
which
Yeah.
we do,
Yeah.
we definitely do.
And like Bobby said when she was here, that's so amazing to me that everybody gets along. You know? Well, yeah, they do. So,
When you think about Dad's family, do you think that your family gets along? Your brothers and sister? Dad?
Yeah,
They got along? They always did?
yeah, they were a very close family, I always thought. And so my family always got along, I mean, pretty, but there's lots of families that don't, so
That is
we're
true.
blessed again.
That is true. Are there any questions that I haven't asked you that you want to answer? No?
Pretty well covered it, haven't you?
Well, we've asked a lot of questions. Andrew, can you
Uh,
think of any?
What do you want your legacy to be?
My legacy.
Mhm.
Oh, goodness. I guess for the family to stay close and for generations to come.
Dad, what are your hopes for this family?
I don't know.
That we continue to laugh? That we laugh?
Yeah,
Continue to enjoy life.
See, you knew more than what you thought you did.
And stay out of serious trouble. I mean, yeah, so we're all ornery, so that's just part of us.
Definitely. Okay, I'm done.
you're done.
I'm done.